Hi, John Leroux here from the Beaverbrook Art Gallery, and I'm standing outside on a beautiful spring day, and I'm out here because I really want to encourage you to come and explore, if you can, in small groups or alone. Remember, social distancing. We do have some of our collection that's basically visible. Even though you can't visit the gallery now as we're temporarily closed, you can come and enjoy our sculpture garden, which is between the gallery, which you can see here, between us and the Crown Plaza. There's the deck of the Joyce. So behind me you can see two works, or actually several works. In fact, it's a great little vista. I want to talk to you today about two that are by a significant Canadian artist named Sorel Etrog. And he was based out of Ontario, but Etrog was an immigrant to Canada and became one of our most important sculptors. And we have two works. One of them is the pair that's right behind me, so if I can get my selfie coordination right. These two silver ones is called the King and Queen. More recent one behind it is a work from 1967 called Survivors Are Not Heroes. Now, I'm just going to walk towards this one. I want to talk to you today about the Survivors Are Not Heroes work because it's an astounding bronze piece, one of the largest bronze sculptures in New Brunswick. So the work's about 18 feet tall. You can see it actually good in scale. Thanks for the scale. Here's a striking view of Survivors Are Not Heroes from the side, where you get this extreme thinness. So in fact the bulk of it, when you look at it from the typical front or rear sides, becomes this really delicate vertical, almost this sort of finger pointing towards the sky, and it becomes this perfect kindred spirit to all the trunks of the trees around it. And there you can see some of the other sculptures that we have in behind one by André Lapointe, which we'll talk about later, and the river, which stay down river. Don't come up any more than this. We need you to stay down for at least this year. One of the things which I'd always encourage people to do when you look at a sculpture is go around the base and look around the bottom, because you often find the signature of the sculpture, or certainly in a bronze, the casting foundry that made it. So here you can see Fondi Michelucci Monte, was it Catini Terme? It's obviously Italian. I'm actually not sure where it is, but this would have been cast in Italy. Beautiful texture on this. It's almost an ancient feel, like an obelisk or a Mayan pyramid. It has this power and a presence. I almost want the 2001 theme to play when I'm around this, and monkeys start dancing around it. Those of you 2001 Stanley Kubrick fans will know what I'm talking about. Etrog had a very unique sculptural voice, and you can certainly tell from, again, his classical period, from these knots, and there's this counterpoint between the solid rectilinear pieces and these sort of more fluid rounded pieces, these sections which flow. He actually did the Canadian equivalent of the Oscar statue, the Canadian Film Awards. I believe at one time they were called the Actor Awards, and the award that they gave was actually a sculpture by Sorel Etrog, and it looks a bit like this in many ways. This thin, vertical, sort of knotted piece. And what's interesting is, the Academy Award is the award, but they call it the Oscar. So the award has a nickname, the Oscar. So for the Canadian ones, they gave it the nickname, the Etrog. And that didn't really stick for a bunch of reasons. But for a while it was called the Etrog. So here you go, another crazy, interesting connection to this work. Here I am at the opposite side of the Beaverbrook, towards the train bridge side, where you can see behind me on the other side of this construction fence, they're reinstalling the Beaverbrook statue that used to be for about half a century in Officer Square, and it's similar to the Etrog in that it's a mammoth bronze sculpture, very vertical. It's not quite as tall as the Etrog, but it's about 9 or 10 feet tall. It's much larger than life size, more than you'd think. But it's figurative. It's of Lord Beaverbrook. It was done in the late 1950s by a sculptor named Vincent Apap from Malta. And it was meant as a memorial. Beaverbrook was still alive when this was unveiled, so it's about the importance, the presence of the man, That's what this sculpture does. So it's very grounded in kind of the real, nothing abstract about it. Whereas the Etrog sculpture is all abstract. It's not a naturalistic form. When you look at it, you can sense whether it's, you know, bones or the sun or anything you can imagine. That's the power of an abstract work. It allows you as the viewer to give the intention of what you see in that sculpture. Or that's Lord Beaverbrook. That's it. End of story. But the Etrog can be anything you want it to be. And it was done at a time in the 1960s when abstract sculpture was the rage, when they were kind of extruding these ideas of form and they weren't grounded in having to imitate life. So it's interesting we have this counterpoint of, on one side of the gallery, a very figurative huge bronze, and on the other side, an abstract huge bronze. So I encourage you to come down. Ooh, that is bright, sorry. Get the shades on. I encourage you to come down to the sculpture garden and certainly check out our works, but especially the Etrog that's behind me. It is one of the major Canadian accomplishments in public art, certainly of the modern era, the 1960s. And it was done in 67, in this year when Canada was at its most optimistic. You think of Expo 67. Works like this were spread all throughout the World's Fair, Man and His World, and Etrog was there as well at the World's Fair. So it's like a piece of Canada's centennial as well, of this great period of modern art here in today's world at the Beaverbrook Art Gallery. Thanks.